Welcome everyone to another episode of Follow the Light Music Review. My name is John DeLaurentis, and this is a special episode called Hot Metal Summer. My top 15 picks of classic metal hard rock albums for summer spins. And before we get into that, I would like to encourage you to please support my channel by subscribing, liking the video, commenting below the video on what you think of these albums and what would be some of your picks of classic metal and hard rock albums to listen to and spin for this summer season of 2025. And also, don't forget to ring the bell so that you get notified of new content that is added to the channel. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to start off with number 15, Ultimatum, Puppet of Destruction. And this album came out originally on Row Productions in 1998. This is the second full-length album from the band. And this is a thrash metal classic. It features the vocals of my good friend and brother in the Lord, Scott Waters, who is the layout designer for Girder Music, Rox Productions, and the labels associated with Boone's Overstock. And I work with him on a regular basis doing copy editing for those labels. And Scott comes up with some great designs. And I know you've purchased any releases from those three labels. It's all done by Scott Waters, and I do the copy editing for it. So this is a great album. It smokes from start to finish with thrash that will put you through the shredder and have you headbanging. The band have a solid set of well-played tracks on here that will not disappoint any thrash metal fan. So my favorites on here are Never, Mortal Stomp, World of Sin, and Cross Hope. And this is the reissue that came out by Rox Records in this came out in actually 2009. All right, so this was a reissue in 2009. And this is an expanded and remastered version. So it includes 3 bonus tracks on here. You have Never Demo, you have Sins of Omission, and you have Mortal Stomp 08. Okay, and you can see the inside here there. So great thrash metal album. If you like thrash metal, you're not gonna go wrong with that. That's my favorite Ultimatum album, but of course they have a lot of other albums in their catalog that you can explore if you like this one. All right, coming in at number 14, Neon Cross. And Neon Cross album came out originally on Regency Records in 1988. This is a classic heavy metal album with expert musicianship, stellar vocals, and infectious songs. Now, this 2019 Girder Records reissue that I have here, this is, again, part of their Legends of Rock series, and this is the definitive version here. This one came out in 2019, and this has 2 tracks that were on the California Metal compilation album, which I used to have years ago. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of it. But most of the tracks on the California Metal compilation album have been reissued as bonus tracks on a lot of reissues of the bands that were on there. So they're on here, the 2 songs, I Need Your Love and Son of God, and there's also the 5-song Frontline Life demo from the band from 1987 that's also added on here. So I was so happy when this came out, reissued, because I had gotten rid of my original CD. So to have it again is great. So that's coming in at number 14. All right, coming in at number 13 is Triton, Celestial Messenger, and this came out originally on Rex New York Records in 1987. This is their debut album that came out after a couple of demos were released. And all I can say for this one is, can someone say Geddy Lee? Can someone say Rush? Yes, this is progressive metal in the vein of Rush. Larry Dean, the lead vocalist, sounds a lot like Geddy Lee on here, but don't think that this is just a Rush clone. It's not. This is a Rush influence, but not a clone. They have their own unique musical spin to their music on here. And some of the great songs that I really love on here are Getting Ready, Mr. Electric, It's War, and the epic Genesis. So again, this is the gold disc reissue of this album. This one came out in 2021 on Retroactive Records. And what's great about this is it has 3 lost tracks that are added on as bonus tracks: In the Distance, The Goat, and Waiting Forever. And you can see inside here, there's an alternate cover for the album that was created by Scott Waters here. It's really cool. And I just want to mention here, look for coming soon, Alliance, the best of Triton. That's going to be coming out soon from Retroactive Records. All right, so let's move on. We're going to be at number 12 now, and this is Saint, Too Late for Living. And this one came out originally on Pure Metal Records in 1988. This is Saint's 3rd studio album. This is a more of that Judas Priest styled metal with strong vocals, slicing guitar riffs, and solid rhythm section here. The band continued to grow and hone their sound and their songwriting on this album. And some great favorites that I love on this album. There's Too Late for Living, which is almost like an answer to Kiss's Detroit Rock City. Listen to it, you'll know what I mean. The rock is great on here. Returning is a great instrumental jam on here. The Path, Through the Sky, The War is Over, which has some smoking lead guitar solos. This is just a great classic album from the band Saint. And there was a reissue of this one here. This one came out in 2020, reissued by Retroactive Records in a gold disc edition. So just a great album that is coming from the band Saint, who's still active. In 2024, they came out with Immortalizer, a new album, which is definitely one of the best albums of 2024. So this is a band that's still going strong all these years later. So check it out. The new album, if you haven't heard that one, because it's an excellent album. All right, coming in at number 11 is Jacob's Dream. Okay, and this one originally came out on Metal Blade Records in 2000. This is a progressive metal classic in the vein of Queensryche, with sweeping, heavy, and melodic metal. Fantastic vocals on here, and just a great album. And this, like I said, came out on a mainstream label. This was on Metal Blade. It's top-notch musicianship. Just a fantastic album. Like I said, if you're a fan of the style of Queensryche, you'll love this album. And some of my favorites on here: Tales of Fears, Scapegoat, Crusade. There's a thrashy one called Love and Sorrow on here, and there's the album closer called The Bleeding Tree. Now, this one also was reissued on the metal as part of the Metal Icon series from Retroactive Records. So they reissued this one here. And this one has a fantastic bonus track that's added to it called Violent Truth. Okay, so that's the inside of that. So some great progressive metal, like I said, in the vein of Queensryche. All right, so we're getting into the top 10 here. All right, number 10, Guardian, Fire and Love. And this one came out originally on Pachyderm Records in 1991. It was produced by John and Dino Elefante. It's their 2nd studio album, and the first with Jamie Rowe on vocals. And he delivered some powerhouse vocals on here, and Jamie Rowe's still active in music today. The band definitely on fire, no pun intended, on this album. Tony Palacio proves to be another shredder on the fretboard. They're anchored by a solid rhythm section of David Bach on bass and Carl Ney on drums. And this is a fantastic album. Now, if I were to list my all-time favorite Guardian album, it would be their follow-up to this one, which would be Miracle Mile. But this is an album that I decided to pull out, revisit it, and it is just a fantastic album. Some of my favorite tracks on here: Power of Love. That was a song that was actually on MTV's Headbangers Ball back in the day, if you remember that show. Time Stands Still, great hard-rocking power ballad. Taking on the World, blistering rocker. Time and Time Again, heaviness and melody fused perfectly together in that track. The Rain, a bluesy intro of this song leads into this smoker of a rocker that features great harmonies and an incredible sieg toward the end that leads into this great Palacio guitar workout. So Tony Palacio definitely being one of the top Christian metal guitar players. So that comes in at number 10, and I want to show you really quick. This one also was reissued as part of the Legends Remastered series on Retroactive Records. And this one features a bonus track, Take Up Your Cross. So if you haven't heard this one in a while, give it another spin and re-listen to it. Really, really solid album on there. All right, coming in at number 9, Bride, Scarecrow Messiah. Okay, so this is an album that came out in Star Song Records in 1994. It's following, of course, the enormously popular Snakes in the Playground album from 1992. But, you know, how do you top Snakes in the Playground? Such a phenomenal masterpiece of an album. Well, guess what? This album, Scarecrow Messiah, you know, oftentimes might get, you know, overshadowed by what came before it. But this is a very fantastic album in their discography, you know, and I would encourage you to revisit it here. Dale's lyrics on here are creatively crafted. The album packs a hard-rocking crunch from the opener Beast to the rollicking romp of Place. Some of my other favorites on here are Scarecrow, The Grooving Time, and The Frenetic Dad Mom. And announcement, this is being reissued by Girder Records on Shockwave Blue vinyl. Okay, so look for that. I believe it may be already up for pre-order. So it's going to be great to see that one on vinyl. So again, Scarecrow Messiah. And this is the original issue of it here. So fantastic Bride album in their discography. You know, Bride, a band that's still going strong. I mean, they just put out the fantastic Vipers and Shadows double CD album. And that's another one coming out on colored vinyl, double vinyl from Girder Music. So look for that and get it because it's limited copies being pressed. So you can get that great album, that new Bride album on vinyl right now. I think it's on pre-order. So don't hesitate to get that fantastic album as well. And again, 2025, and this was 1994. This band is still putting out high quality, great music. All right, coming in at number 8, Zion, Thunder from the Mountain. Now, this one originally came out on Image Records in 1989. It's a DigiWallet here. You see the disc here, slips out here. And there are some notes here. They're kind of hard to read over on this side. No, yeah, I'm right over here. I had to use a magnifying glass to read them, but very happy to have it because I think my original issue of this got rid of. So this is a 2.0 version of it. And this album is a heavy metal classic produced by David Safiro of Bloodgood fame. This is a band that hails from South Dakota. The band released this monster of a metal classic, and this version I just showed you came out 2.0 version in 2019. They went back to the original master tapes and they remixed it, the songs, and remastered it, the whole entire album except one song, Less of Me, which is remastered but not remixed because it was missing from the original master tapes for some reason. But they did find one song that was from these sessions that was cut from the album, and that's added on here as a bonus track. It's called The Big Fall. Now, guitarist and vocalist Rex Scott appears on this album, and you may remember that name because he was later in the band X Sinner. David Moore lays down some smoking lead guitar in here, and this is an album much in the vein of AC/DC. So X Sinner is always pointed to as a band that sounded like AC/DC. This also has that kind of vibe to it as well. Great album. Favorites on here: Who Pulls the Strings, Help Out is a beautiful power metal ballad, and Roll the Rock. It's just a really great album. Zion, Thunder from the Mountain, coming in at number 8. All right, let's move on to number 7. Believer, Sanity Obscure. And this album originally came out on Rex Records in 1990, and it was picked up by the mainstream label Roadrunner and reissued in 1991 on their label. This is a thrash metal classic that made inroads into the mainstream. It's technical thrash that stands up against anything in the mainstream market for sure. And Dies Irae could be the first song or one of the first songs to mix opera and thrash metal. I never heard opera mixed with thrash metal before I heard this song. So, let me know if there's other bands that have done it before. Believer, but they're probably the first in the Christian realm for sure to mix opera music with thrash metal, and you have to hear it to believe it. It kind of, that song anticipates later on the symphonic metal that became very big. Non-Point, another great frenetic galloping rhythmic song that's on here. Stop the Madness, a song about drug abuse, is also on here. And some of my other favorites here are the title track, Sanity Obscure. There's this fantastic thrashy recover of a U2 song that explodes with intensity, and of course Dies Irae, which means in Latin day of wrath. Of course, one of my favorites on here, and the Stop the Madness song as well. So this is my original issue of the album that I still have, but this one also was reissued in a deluxe version by Bomb Works Records. And this is another gold disc edition here. And it comes with this nice O card that slips off. And it says on the hype sticker here, Progressive Thrash Classic Remastered, includes limited edition collector's card. So again, a great thrash metal classic, coming in at number 7. Okay, the next one coming in at number 6 is Barren Cross, Atomic Arena. Now, Barren Cross's Atomic Arena album, this one came out originally on Enigma Records in 1988. And Enigma Records, if you recall, was also the label home of Stryper. So they were concurrent. They were contemporary with each other during that time. And this particular album here is the band's 3rd studio album, if you count their debut EP, which was Believe. And I used to have that on vinyl. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of it, but it was like a white cover, and when you pulled out the album, it was on blue vinyl. It was really cool, and I loved it. It was like one of the earliest Christian metal albums I had bought back in the time at the 80s when I was discovering Christian music in full back at that time. And on this album, they explode in muscular metal, bolstered by the lead vocals of Michael Lee, and the band, they just peel the paint off the walls with their molten metal riffing on here. And they do cover a lot of diverse, controversial at times topics on here. So they have songs on here that deal with abortion, cults, terrorism, but without a doubt, one of the classic metal albums of the 1980s here. And this is my original issue on Enigma. And this one was reissued by Retroactive Records, I believe. I don't have the reissue of it, but you can get that. This is another John and Dino Elefante produced album. And just a classic on here. Some of my other favorites on here are Imaginary Music, In the Eye of the Fire, Close to the Edge, Deadlock, which appeared on one of the early metal compilation albums, Heaven or Nothing, which is a great ballad that was written by John and Dino Elefante here, and Living Dead. And of course, Mike Lee, still sounding great vocally as Michael Drive in the band Human Code, which put out one of the best albums of 2024, Break the Silence. So coming in at number 6, Barren Cross, Atomic Arena. Okay, number 5, we're getting into the top 5 here. Rage of Angels. And this, of course, what an album this is. Their one and only album, Rage of Angels. And this particular album came out initially on Regency Records in 1989. It's an incredible debut. Like I said, that would be the first and last for the band before some internal issues arose. The band still have an active Facebook page, so I'll put the link for that in the description below. Sadly, drummer John Fowler passed away in 2008 from the band. There is a really good interview with lead vocalist Danny Mariano on the Area 312 Rock and Metal Vodcast on YouTube, which I'll put a link for that in the description as well. That'll give you lots of details about the band that he goes over in there. And I think they even maybe talk about why hasn't it ever been reissued. This is one of the probably holy grail CDs that people look for, and it's quite expensive if you try to get it. So I'm so glad I have my original issue of that. I never got rid of it, thankfully, because this one's never been reissued here. So some of my favorite songs on this album: Leave You or Forsake You, Reason to Rock, Do You Believe in Love, my favorite song on the album, just fantastic. Are You Ready for Thunder? So many great tracks. There's not a bad song on the album from start to finish. Just a classic album in the vein of kind of like Motley Crue. That kind of sound of metal is on this album. Just a classic. All right, number 4 is Holy Soldier. Okay, and this album came out originally on the Myrrh label in 1990. Now, this was the first metal release by the label Myrrh. Now, Myrrh was not known for releasing metal albums, and so this was their first foray into the metal arena. And this one, produced by David Safaro, features fantastic musicianship and songwriting and some powerful vocals from Stephen Patrick, and just a classic album. And this one's never been reissued, but this one sounds good. They had a big budget production behind this, I'm sure, because it was on one of the major labels, Myrrh. And it just sounds fantastic. And in fact, this inside here I have, this is like a little card here with the album cover on here that I got from my friend Scott Waters here. So I slipped that in here. So there's the original back cover. So another great album. Again, would love to see this as a reissue and remaster, but I'm sure it's quite expensive to license, because Myrrh Records is now currently owned by Curb Word, and I'm sure the licensing fees are probably pretty steep there. So I'm glad I have, again, my original issue of that. And what are some of my favorite songs on this album? Well, See No Evil, fantastic song. When the Rain Comes Down, Lies. But again, this is just an album that's just good from beginning to end, with no filler at all. All right, coming in at number 3, Jerusalem, Warrior. And this one originally came out on Lamb and Lion Records in 1982. However, the original year was 1981 in Sweden. So it came out in Sweden in 1981, and then 1990 or 1982 on Lamb and Lion Records. So this is the band's third studio album. Of course, this is the Swedish hard rockers. This album is often seen as one of their high water marks. It features some of the band's best songs, from the opening Constantly Changing, which features infectious riffs, solid keyboards, fiery guitar solos, pounding drums, solid bass, and of course, Ulf Christensen's soaring, powerful vocals. The title track is a sprawling Deep Purple-esque anthem that features an incredible opening segment before it goes into this, it charges into this main riff that is just phenomenal. It's definitely one of my favorite songs on the album, as well as one of my all-time favorite Christian songs in general, Christian rock songs in general. It's also features another mellower and melody-infused song called Pilgrim on here, which is another standout. And then Sodom on here is the epic on here. It opens up with this keyboard intro that leads into this mellower beginning, and then Ulf singing his lungs out before it launches into an incredible guitar riff around the 3.5 minute mark. And then this song continues to go on and clocks in at over 12 minutes. And it ends with this smoking guitar solo. So just a fantastic album. Love the band Jerusalem. Okay, number 2, Stryper, Soldiers Under Command. Okay, and this album here originally came out on Enigma in 1985. It's Stryper's second studio album after the Yellow and Black Attack EP. It's a barn burner of a heavy metal album. The band is firing all cylinders as they blow the ceiling up with charging riffs, heavenly harmonies, guitar solos galore. If you're a lead guitar solo fan like I am, you're going to be blown away. If you've never heard this album, or if you go and revisit it again, the interplay of lead guitar soloing between Michael Sweet and Oz Fox, just fantastic on here. This is still my favorite Stryper album. I saw the band live on this tour, and just a great album. And Stryper is still putting out great music. They're still putting out great music. When We Were Kings One of the best albums of 2024. Just a fantastic album. Still, the band's still sounding great. Michael Sweet's still singing great, and just a fantastic album. So, but this album, I love it. It's a really great album. And what are some of my favorite tracks on this album? Well, Together Forever is one. Surrender, Makes Me Want to Sing, and of course, the opening, Soldiers Under Command, which is just phenomenal, as I mentioned. Like, my number one favorite Stryper song in their discography. All right, so we're getting down to number one. What I have picked is King's X, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. Okay, and this one originally came out on Megaforce Atlantic Records in 1989. This is the band's second studio album. It's an absolute masterpiece of prog metal with incredible harmonies, stick-in-your-head melodies, and musicianship par excellence. It's hard to believe it's just three guys in here that are putting out such incredible music. It's a tour de force of a soundscape that never fails to please. And if this is one of the earlier King's X albums that you haven't heard in a while, I encourage you to pull it out, listen to it again afresh. If you don't have this one, I would direct you toward a box set that came out in 2023. It's called In the New Age. The Complete Atlantic Recordings came out. It features their albums from 1988 to 1995. So it covers the band's first 6 albums that they released on Atlantic Records before they moved on to the Pure Metal label. So some of my favorites on here: Apropos, Summerland, Over My Head. What a fantastic song with great harmonies. That was I believe a video on MTV. I'll put a link for that in the description here. And Mission, just a fantastic album. King's X, incredible musicianship through and through. And so that's what's coming in at number 1 in my summer spins. And again, all of these albums, I've ranked them from 15 to 1, but really, it's not really a ranking of favorites. I love all of these albums. I just kind of put them together in this particular way. So I want to talk about 3 honorable mentions on the list that I've also pulled for summer spins. And we'll just go through these 1, 2, 3 on here. So Tourniquet is one of my ones that's coming up. Deliverance, Learn. Okay, so the Learn album by Deliverance came out as their 5th studio album, and it's the 2nd album to be produced by Terry Taylor after the State of Execution album. Taylor would also go on to produce the River Disturbance album as well, and the late Gene Eugene, who of course was involved in bands like Adam Again, he recorded and mixed this album here. And the band here on this album is Jimmy P. Brown II on lead and rhythm guitars, keyboards and vocals, Manny Morales on bass, John Knox on drums and percussion, and keyboards. Charles Brown and Ricky Michelle offer some backing vocals on here, and Melissa Hanson on cello on the songs Time and In the Will. So this is a summer spin for me, so I can get to know it better, because as I mentioned, the other 2 albums, State of Execution and River Disturbance, I kind of like those albums better than this one. So I'm listening to this one again to get to know it better and to let it grow on me. But without a doubt, some of the favorites I have on here are Learn, Who Am I? The Rain is a blistering stomper with some great guitar solos. And one of the band's best covers ever is Sanctuary, Terry Taylor's song. And they just do an incredible version of it on here. And that is definitely, for me, the highlight of the entire album, Sanctuary. And of course, this is the Legends Remastered reissue of the original album. This came out in 2020, Retroactive Records. And if you want to experience this album again in the vinyl realm, this just came out in 2025 from Retroactive Records. So we have this nice reissue of this album, and it is a colored vinyl here. I'll show you really quickly. Nice orange vinyl here, and came in the poly sleeve, which I love. Protects that album better. And of course, it has a beautiful insert here, collage by Scott Waters here, and all the lyrics are in here. And of course, this is one I worked on too as well. And so it's one of my honorable mentions. Like I said, I want to get to know this album a little bit better. All right, coming in at number 2 is what I started to say before, and that's Tourniquet. And let me get my notes assembled here. This is Tourniquet's Crawl to China. So you might say, why am I picking Crawl to China? Because this is a different album from what came earlier, the earlier thrash metal albums, those classic albums, Stop the Bleeding, Psychosurgery. Crawl to China is another one of the band's kind of experimental albums where they're going in exploring some other different styles of music over here. So I would say the best way to put this is kind of an amalgam of thrash, pop rock, grunge, hardcore, groove metal, classically infused melody. And the band had been experimenting with this kind of different styles. Vanishing Lessons was kind of groove metal, and they had that EP, Carry the Wounded, which was kind of like moving the band toward radio rock. So they were doing some different things on here. But one of the things that really stands out on this album is this album came out originally on Diadem in 1997. Diadem owned by Benson Records. So this received a huge, big budget production. It sounds fantastic. And so if you kind of said, I'm not really into this one because they kind of veered away from their thrash metal that I like, I encourage you to revisit this album here. It's over an hour long. It's a kind of a controversial album. I saw one reviewer, he hated the album so much he gave it 3% out of 100%. However, on the other opposite end of the spectrum, Cross Rhythms gave it a 10 out of 10 rating on here. So some of my favorites on here, Enveloped in Python, you listen to that, has this kind of Alice Cooper influence, talking in the beginning of it. And Crawl to China is a great title track in here. White Knuckling, The Rosary, and again, there's different styles of music here. There's a ballad on here, If I Was There, which is a very, very mellow ballad for Tourniquet, and the straight rock sound of Bats on here with its tongue-in-cheek lyrics. Some people said the lyrics are so silly, but I think it's done tongue-in-cheek here. And the opening song, Claustro Spelunker, actually features Tim Gaines from Stryper fame on bass on it. So if you have not visited Crawl to China, I know that was reissued beyond this version later on, but I have the original issue here that came out. But I would revisit it again. I think it's a really solid release, and it's very filled with variety. You have to kind of enter into listening to it without the expectations that this is going to sound like the early Tourniquet albums, because it doesn't. Like I said, it's a very amalgam mix, but I think it's a really good album, and I think you should give it another listen here. Now, I did say I was going to mention one mainstream released album, and this is an album by a band called Prophet, and this is their debut album, and I have loved this album for years, and I think it fits in to this Summer Spins here, because this album is not one of those albums that has, like, offensive lyrics or something of that nature that would want to keep you away. If you're a Christian, you're not going to have any problem listening to this album. This album has some very positive influenced albums. Tracks like Play With Fire say, you play with fire, you'll get burned. And there's just a lot of really positive type lyrics on here, positive love song lyrics on here. But this is an album. This is not the original album cover. I'll put it in the video when I edit it. But this is the reissue of it. This is an album I've loved for years. I had it on vinyl, and it's just a fantastic album. It came out originally on Total Experience Records in 1985. It's a power hard rock classic, and the band hails from my own home state. They're a band that was created and formed in New Jersey. And like I said, it's melodic power metal of the highest order from beginning to end. Not a bad track on the album. And some of my favorites here are Street Secrets, Away From You, Slow Down, Listen to Ya, which is the ending track. And this version here, this CD version I just showed you here, this was the reissue from Z Records, which is a UK label. They changed the cover art. I don't know why they changed the cover art. Maybe they couldn't get the original album cover. Maybe they couldn't get it licensed or they couldn't get a copy of it. But it shows the members on the cover. It's kind of a better album cover than this. But again, this was one I was searching for on CD for a long, long time. And this is a great reissue of it. So if you like melodic power metal, you can't go wrong with this. This is just a fantastic album. Scott Metaxas is the one of the main songwriters and players on the album here, but just a fantastic album that I'd like to bring your attention to in the mainstream market. If you like that style of music, you're going to love this album. It's a great album. All right, so I know we're going long here, but we had a lot to cover on here. But all of these albums have spun in my player as I've begun my summer spins here in New Jersey. Like I said, there was record high temperatures of 100 degrees or more. But I encourage you to pull out some these classics if you own them and listen to them, or maybe there's some ones on you've never heard of. I would encourage you to go out and look into them and listen to them and let me know what you think of these choices here. And what are your classic metal and hard rock albums that you want to spin for your summer, for your musical listening pleasure. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I really appreciate you sticking around, especially if you made it all the way to the end of the video at this over 35-minute mark here. But we had a lot, like I said, to go over here, and I wanted to do a thorough view of these, a thorough review of all of these particular albums that that I love and am exploring and re-exploring. Okay, so thanks again for watching. Again, I would love to hear your comments down below the YouTube video, and as always, I encourage you to follow the light that shines out in the darkness. God bless everyone.